Welcome into Looking Up with Laird here on Sorare TV. I am Andrew Laird, head of content for Sorare Data. Joined once again by Mr. Harry Trades of the Harry Trades YouTube channel. YouTube channel. Good start, but we're going to power through. I was thrown off just now because I looked up to see Sam Ty. Sam Ty's not there. But filling in for Sam, who is away for this video, our good friend Danny Brams, known as TrippinB, all over the internet. We threw out the bat signal. We were like, we need somebody to fill in for Sam. Is there anyone who could do it? And like he does with everything, Trippin was there and he was like, hey, I'm in. And so Danny Brams, thank you very much for joining us today.
I'm always available, you know, for whatever reason. There's always room on my dance card, and when you put up the bat signal, of course I'm going to respond. Lairdie, you're my boy. You have been for years. I wouldn't be in Sorare probably if not for you. Harry, you're a great one-time meetup friend that we've been able to stay in touch, you know, online since then, and life is good there. And great dude. You got a great video of me just like drunk pontificating about how great Charlotte FC was going to beat Orlando, and then we got waxed, so that was fun. And I will join you guys for anything, anytime, obviously, but talking Sorare, talking potential, talking about looking up, I'm way in. Awesome.
I do like that you have taken our kind of byproduct of pumping players, and you're actually going to pump some guys or at least one that you own yourself. So you've taken the appropriate step of actually owning this guy first, whereas we tend to talk about players, we don't buy them, and then we see their prices and scores go up. So,
well, it was last week's episode. I think it was last week's episode of the show that Sam pumped up a player you owned. And you were like, hey, you know, go right ahead, pump my Majid Hosseini, no problem. And so I'm cutting out the middleman. I'm just pumping my own guy, you know, forget it.
Absolutely. No. And for the record, we're kidding. We're not really just here to pump guys. Although it does feel like that sometimes because, my gosh, the number of calls that you guys are just nailing it's getting a little weird, to be honest. There's some sort of crystal ball here on Looking Up with Laird. I think it's that thing right over there. Is that nope over there? There we go. I'm always a little backwards here. You thought it was a Sorare TV logo, but it's actually a crystal ball. So, TrippinB, because you are our guest, if you wouldn't mind going first with the first player who you believe is looking up for the future.
All right, so I'm going to save my pump for the second player. I'm going to go with my
man of integrity.
And I'll be honest, like the first player that I chose, I'll go in the order that I chose them. So the first player that I chose kind of led to the second. So if that gives you a little bit of a teaser. So I'm going to start with a player that is an MLS veteran, MLS alum, who is now in the French league. And he's a Polish player. His name is, I'm always rough with Polish pronunciations. I think it goes Przemysław Frankowski. The P is silent or non-existent or somewhere in that pronunciation. So I apologize if I'm getting that wrong, but I believe it's Przemysław Frankowski. We just called him Frankie when he was here in MLS playing with Chicago Fire. And he was always fun to play in fantasy from our DraftKings days. He was a guy that you'd always lock in on DraftKings because he scored well there. And he's looking in a nice spot here for this spot, I think, because he's a little bit down. He's had a few down games. If you look at his I like to look when I'm looking for guys that are looking up. A lot of times what I'll do is compare L5s versus L15s, L40s, right? So obviously not like the most brilliant master stroke no one's ever thought of. A lot of people do that, but it works. So his L5, his AA points are a little down on the L5 compared to the L15 and L40, which I always like. I do think he's got some potential. He's playing for Lons, I believe, right? So and the big thing that gets him in this looking up for me, though, is his fact that he's on the Polish World Cup squad. And he has a chance to get some minutes in Qatar, I feel. I haven't seen their exact projected 11, but he's a talented player. You know, you'd think playing in one of the big five leagues like this would make him a candidate at least to start and get minutes. So I'm hoping that turns out to be the case. Poland, I believe, plays Mexico, Argentina, and Saudi Arabia, I believe, in their group, right? So if you look at the upcoming fixtures there, you can see, I think that's a decent set of fixtures. You never want to play against Argentina, but the matches against Mexico and Saudi Arabia are nice. They also come back fairly quickly from the World Cup. I believe they have fixtures on the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a really Nice matchup versus Nice, if you will. It looms. And obviously the PSG match will probably be a down spot, but after that, it opens up pretty nicely for Frankowski. And this is a guy who's just active. He's the right age. He's kind of hitting his prime. And I think that things are looking up for this guy. The price is pretty decent at 0.1, $150. I don't know exactly what that translates to in euro, but I'm a Frankowski fan. I have been since his MLS days. You can get a big head card, which is nice. The big head cards have been phased out and everybody's happy about it. But I think over the years that they'll be sort of like 2-3 years down the line, there's going to be like, oh, remember the big head cards? That type of nostalgia might kick in a little bit. So that could help a little bit, even though I don't really love them myself. But if you look, the trades are all pretty simple. And I just think he's going to deliver for your teams. Maybe a bit of a threshold player. Hasn't flashed the full upside, but at this price, I think you can make the thresholds can pay for themselves in a few weeks. And I like Shimmy.
I like this call for a couple of reasons. I do think he kind of like screams out as a solid threshold player. That being said, I also think it's not a bad like super rare as well. Like we kind of talked about this a little bit last week with Hosseini, who I believe had an assist last weekend. I mean, we talked about him. He had an assist. So the AA scores are really nice for a forward. Or is he? Oh, he's a midfielder.
He's a mid. Yeah, he's a midfielder. Yeah.
Either way, the AA scores are nice. When he gets that decisive, obviously you get some like significantly more upside, because if you are already in that like 12 to, I mean, he's up to nearly 25 in some of these AA scores. Like,
right,
you're getting a real banging score if you can get on the score sheet. It's kind of interesting to see a player like this. Now he obviously hadn't gotten any new cards since he left MLS,
right?
But he was like a fairly well minted player. So he doesn't have any limiteds because he moved before the limiteds came about. But 15 super rares is that's a lot of super rares, and 141 rares. So like there's a market, and there are enough of these cards that, we see that there are no super rares on the market, but that doesn't, I'm not sure whoever's holding these super rares is like, I can never sell this card. Like, I think those are kind of attainable. So if that's sort of the way that you play, that's an interesting one. And then, at $140 right now, floor price for his rare. And I mean, frankly, the last sold was 163. So that plays into the whole market is crashing, which looks like a buying opportunity to me. But that's.
And if you look at some of his better AA scores in the L15, one of those is with Poland playing in a 2-0 loss against Holland. So he played 80 minutes for Poland, got 18 AA points in a loss. That's pretty nice, to be honest. So I think his World Cup utility is going to show up.
It looks like he may just own the Netherlands here. I mean,
yeah, he did. Yeah, then he had the assist against him in the other Nations League.
That is a really nice score for basically all AA. Looks like a big chance created certainly helped. Doing a little, I don't even want to call that a little defensive. Well, there's a little defensive work there. 3-1 tackles. Look at this, Frankowski doing the dirty work here. No, I think that's a really good call, and it's kind of a fun player to consider, because I do think he's kind of the type of player that, we've discussed previously, as weird as it sounds, that like they stop getting minted, and instead of like seeing a price rise because we're like, oh, there are no more cards, they kind of get forgotten about. So and with no limiteds like that, you can really get forgotten about that way. So it's kind of like a sneaky differential that has plenty of stability in the scores thanks to that AA, and then upside if you can get on the score sheet. I like that one. Mr. Trades, who are you adding to our list today?
First up, sort of leading on from the World Cup type of utility situation, I'm going to go with Youssouf Fofana, that plays for Monaco, and hopefully the French national team come this next week or so. Player that I've known about for a little while, to be fair. His eligibility is up in July 2023, so you haven't got him as an under 23 for a ton more of time, but I think is a player that could come in and sort of be that. If you are looking to play the World Cup and for whatever reason haven't got a midfielder in right now, and specifically 23s, I think this could be like an under the radar type of shout to where, look, he's not the type of player that's going to get bags of decisives, as we can see by his scores, but it's somebody that's a box to box midfielder playing in a French national team there's no Pogba, there's no Kante, so there's a lot less competition for him to be competing with. Don't get me wrong, you've still got Guendouzi, Tchouaméni will be in and around, or obviously be starting as the 6, I imagine, and then you'll have whoever the 8 is, whether that's Guendouzi, I think, or Fofana. Camavinga might sort of be in that as well. So I'm not saying he's a guaranteed start in any way, but if he does, I really expect him to score really well for France. They're going to dominate possession in most games, you would imagine. And then domestically as well, it's not as if he can't hit some good scores. A 64 on the weekend, 29.7 AA, 28 AA 2 games before that against Angers. There's a few very average scores as well in there. To be honest, but somebody that's really, really highly rated in terms of like just in real life, and hopefully somebody that can possibly kick on beyond Monaco as well. I think he's the type of profile that could definitely do that.
Yeah, in touching on that World Cup, I think there's definitely a situation where France go into that game against Tunisia with effectively nothing to play for. And if that's the case, like, why not give him a little run out and see what he can do? I mean, they're certainly going to be favored against Australia and Denmark anyway. And if they actually take care of business, then yeah, that Tunisia game is almost a bit of like house money. And so why not kind of get him in there? I will say I owned a Fofana card. I don't think I won it. Maybe I did. Let's see. Oh no, I did buy it. So he was an early one for me that I was like, oh, the AA was like really good. And then he went on this like little spell where he was dropped. And it was like, man, it was like going so well. And this was at a time where it didn't feel like you needed like 900 points to win U23 limited. But so like those kind of scores, they were like so consistently, like if I can get 60, 65 every time, like I'll take it. And then looks like I sold end of season. I wonder why I did that.
What were you thinking?
I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest.
That's a classic Laird graph.
Totally.
Sell at the base of the peak.
I'm not sure what like when you actually sold him, if that correlates with, because Tchouaméni obviously left Monaco, and there was a situation where like Tchouaméni was the guy, and then like Fofana sort of then came in, even though he's a little bit older than him, and has since sort of flourished, I guess, more so now that Tchouaméni's kind of left now. But like you said, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, if he does get in the squad, which is what we anticipate, that Tunisia games seems like a bit of a banker, like we said, as long as the results go for France. But I honestly even think like he's in contention to start like the legit games as well, because like they don't have a midfield that like that they really wanted. You know, there's no Pogba, no Kante. Rabiot's going to be involved in that conversation for whatever reason. I don't know why, but he's just going to have to be. So like you've got 4 midfielders basically fighting for that number 8 position, I would say. And it just kind of depends what Deschamps sort of goes for. So yeah, it's not like the best gamble in the world and one that like I'd be like racing to make, but there's definitely something in there. And like I said, it's beyond, like, nobody should be buying just for the World Cup, because it just doesn't really make sense for 4 game weeks or maybe even 3 max. So so like, even domestically, I think he's a top player, and somebody that can definitely contribute to winning some cards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So I look back and over a year when I'm like, oh, I got a nice little profit, and then you switch to fiat, and it was like, oh, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Hey, it's an ETH based game, baby. Come on now.
Surely I will blame this on some sort of excellent tax preparation or something like that, as I take a loss on my use of Fofana.
When ETH is 10K, you won't care, baby. Let's go.
That's it. I mean, that's what I have to keep telling myself.
That's what I've been telling myself for 2 years of playing So Rare, for sure.
It's all an ETH accumulation engine.
It's just an ETH accumulation. Yeah, don't tell PSU I said that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a nice call. I mean, obviously, it's a situation where you would like to see more decisives, but like you wanted to see more decisives with literally every player on the platform. So it's not anything crazy. And then I do wonder if people get overly excited if he does play meaningful minutes for France in this World Cup. That just like coming out of the break, I mean, like you said, like Ligue 1 starts up pretty early after the World Cup, and I didn't even know they started that early. I thought it was like mid-January, to be honest. And there's no like really tough game coming out after this. Lorient's obviously been pretty good this season, but other than that, I mean, that's a decent row. You know, you don't play PSG until the middle of February, and then obviously you have midweeks with Europa with that matchup against Leverkusen. So I like that call.
Yeah, all round utility, and yeah, like I said, like you said as well, he's not gonna smash the matrix into pieces, but it's somebody that's gonna churn away for you and keep you in the game, I guess.
And frankly, I mean, maybe his price drops a little bit when he loses U23 eligibility, but he's still like a very effective player for a number of different competitions. So
plus, I mean, maybe you find a buyer who's drunk one night and thinks it's Wesley Fofana, and you sell for a huge profit. Who knows? You never know.
Or some sort of Fofana collector. I believe.
Exactly.
I believe PSU Fans too has 3 or 4 Fofanas, and now he wants to build a whole Fofana family. So, all right, it's pump time. He's wearing the shirt.
Pump it up.
Who do we got here adding to the list here, Tripp?
So, like I said, my first player that I looked at when I was looking in just sort of my normal profile was Frankowski, and then he's going to the Polish World Cup team, right? So then I thought to myself, well, what's to stop me from also putting into the show my favorite player on the Polish national team, who is Karol Swiderski, who, if Frankowski is a guy who was great in MLS and then went on to a European team, I think Swiderski could do that too in a few years' time. This is a guy who it'll be a few years because Charlotte's really committed to him. The sporting director called him untouchable as recently as a month ago. And I don't know for sure that he's going to start in the World Cup, but he does have. It's kind of funny. I was talking to Sam about this. I don't know exactly why Sam couldn't make the episode today. I'm glad I was able to fill in because I love talking to you guys. But I was actually chatting with Sam on Discord earlier today. I've given him some MLS advice as he tries to move into that league because that's one of my specialties. And I was saying he bought a Jefferson Savarino, who I think is probably the best MLS forward you can have, especially with these rumors on Driussi now. But he said, yeah, I almost got a Swiderski. I was like, oh, yeah, you should definitely get him too if you can, because he's the star player for Charlotte FC. He's a striker. He started the season as a striker. If you go to his, let's say 1 year graph, maybe, he started the season out as a striker. And if you look back in like game weeks 250, 270 range, it was a lot of like low AA games with just spikes on goals and things like that. He had a long drought. I think he had a 10-game stretch with no goals. They got a little dicey for the Charlotte FC supporters and whatnot. But what happened was late in the season, they dropped him back into more of, instead of a target man, like number 9 right up at the top of the spear, he dropped back to sort of, he's a hybrid. He's not quite a creative attacking mid. He's not a 10, but he plays sort of in that 10 space with sort of off the other striker. He plays sort of behind the main striker. They put Daniel Rios back in the starting lineup. So he's able to make runs off of another guy and sort of get possession in dangerous areas a lot more. His AA scores started to pick way up, and he was adding the decisives on top. So he started putting some really banging scores late. He also took some corner kicks. He's a forward with some set piece shares now. I don't know how that will play out next year, but he is starting to get involved that way. So that's going to give you assist upside and just some floor as well for chance creation. So he's like, everything's trending in this guy's direction. I think he's set to become an absolute breakout superstar. I'm clearly biased. I am a Charlotte fan. I'm a season ticket holder. So like, you got to take that into account with this pump I'm giving. If you look at his World Cup utility, what Sam was, as I mentioned that chat with Sam and I were talking, I was like, yeah, I don't think he's going to start for the World Cup, but some people seem to think he's going to be a starter for Poland. But he's like, yeah, but him and Louis have developed a nice little chemistry. And he's right, because in one of the recent, I believe it was a friendly, it might have been Nations League, but there was a friendly where he got a goal off a Lua assist It might have been that
was the Wales game.
Wales
Yeah.
game. Yeah, it was that Poland
They
Wales
are.
game. You were there, Harry, right? You went to that match.
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
there.
So it was a headed assist from Lua as Swiderski kind of ran into the box. It was a really nice, kind of a nice team goal, but some good individual finishing. So he has that chemistry with Lewandowski. So maybe he could. I think because he's played that new role that I was talking about. Poland's a team that I think only plays one striker. They're not a double striker team. But because he's sort of had that recent experience of as a forward playing off another forward, I think that helps his cause to get onto the pitch in Qatar. So there's all kinds of things trending in this guy's direction. Now, the issue, I kind of joked about, pumping my own guys, but it's actually a reverse. The joke's on me with this because if you look, you're looking at his main page. If you saw my version of this page that you're looking at right now, it would say you own 3 copies of Karol Swiderski. Unique, super rare, and limited. I have the 1 of 1,000 limited. I have the unique that I went all in for once they posted it. I got a super rare on a really sweet trade. Look at that trade. Let's see how that trade has worked out for sure. But I definitely want to see that. Team Tim, more power to you. Yeah, I think I traded 2.25 ETH and a Bruno Petkovic and then some bum for the super rare. I feel pretty good about this trade.
Yeah, that seems decent.
This guy really wanted to get Petko. The guy I remember, Tim. He hey mated me. Hey mate on Discord, and he approached me with this trade because he saw that he's not an America's player and he won this card, I think, and he just wanted to get rid of it. So, but what I don't have is the rare. I don't have a rare Swiderski. It's like it's really weird. I collect Charlotte FC cards, and every time Swiderski auction came up, like put it off. I'll get that one later. I had to get
right
unique.
Now.
I know. Trust me, I'm well aware. Trust me. And that bid is kind of pissing me off because if you look, see the 230, the 0.230 a couple days ago, I was in on that. 5 days ago, I was in on that, and I was like, 0.23. It's just a little too much that I want to spend on now. I'm just trying to save my money. I'm trying to keep ETH balance for NBA cards. There's a couple baseball auctions I wanted to buy for cheap in the off season. So I was just like, I don't want to take the plunge. I don't have a ton of ETH on the start now. I might have to get some. I might have to sell some cards. I need to start building my ETH stack back up again, to be quite honest. But I'm going to probably go for this in 11 hours. So anybody listen to this, if you get in my way on this auction, I'm going to be really pissed. But I should have bought the 230. Obviously, I should have bought the 230. I definitely should have bought the 0.20 10 days ago. That's totally my fault. And what it seems like, if you look at the offers now, it seems like people have started to put together that this guy might get some minutes in the World Cup. And so the offers are pretty pricey. He's not cheap anymore. But if you're looking at a guy who I think can be like a top 3 America's forward, definitely top 3 MLS, potentially top 5 Americas, let's say, bring in Argentina and Brazil and Mexico. Like, I think, especially if he gets sets, I just think this guy's poised to blow up, become like close to like a 0.7, 0.8 card once MLS season gets up and going. So a little pricey, but I'd pay it, and I may have to pay it. And who knows what this auction is going to go for in 12 hours. If it gets up to 0.3 and I have to get it, because also we're running out of mints, right? That's 51 out of 100. I don't know exactly how many have been rewarded, but like for me to complete my set, I have every Charlotte FC limited. I have most of them 1 of 1,000s, and I have all of them for this year. I have we did an episode about this, Laird, of the Sorare Data show. I have all the rares except for Ben Bender, who's like the young rookie that just has a super inflated price that he's not really that good. Definitely not good for SO5. So I've never taken the plunge on a Bender because he's been overpriced, and I don't have Swiderski. So I need 2 more to complete my set. I got to jump in here. I got to get this one today, I think. So I don't know, but I'm going to pump him to the audience of this show because he's looking up. And when you're looking up, you get on the show. What can I say?
I can't decide what my favorite part of you bringing Swiderski up is either that you have the unique and a super rare, or that you brought up that he scored against Wales on a show with Harry, who was at the game.
I didn't mean to. That popped in my head as I was telling the story. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Harry went to that game.
You just casually walked in and you were like, oh, yeah, that game that you went to, Harry, that you lost. This is
thanks to this goal. Yeah. My fault.
That's so funny.
That was
Trippin', I didn't know you owned the unique. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, man. I had to, mate. I had I mean,
1.7 ETH. That is just
yeah,
not a lot.
he snuck in there. I forget exactly when that was happening, but it was kind of like just a really good timing. He was a little bit on a they don't mint a unique of guys who aren't doing good, but he hadn't really started popping yet. So
This was what, August?
it just worked out great. And I think I deposited 4 ETH that day. And I was like, I'm getting this card no matter what. Like, there's no chance I'm not getting this card. So I was like ready to buy it, and I got it for 1.7. I was just like, oh yes, this is so nice.
Yeah, the minute I saw him play live with you guys at that Orlando game, like it took only like I'm not just saying it took me 5 minutes to realize how good like this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're right, the way you described it, Trippin, like he isn't like a generic number 9 at all. Like he's way too technical for that.
Mm-hmm.
And like yeah, they've obviously noticed that coaching staff wise and have realized that he's probably better a little bit deeper, where like centre backs aren't sort of up his arse, and he's able to turn and sort of create things that way. But like you said, and then from the Polish side of things, I think he's got every right to start. Like I don't know how Milik's fitness issues are right now. I know he's playing for I'm pretty sure he's at Juve right now. Obviously he's a Polish forward. Other than him,
Piatek is in the mix, but Piatek is
doesn't play.
Yeah, he's like out the window now. Yeah,
and the fact that, like you said, Swiderski did score against my nation it was like what 2 months ago maybe. It wasn't long ago at all. So yeah, that's obviously gonna, in terms of like the manager and stuff, that you can only like look at the most recent game and be like, well, he did well for us. He won us that game. There's no like he's definitely going to be in the squad. Whether he starts or not is tough to say. But if gun to my head, I think he does start, to be honest.
I mean, we can say that about so many guys now. Like he'll definitely be in the squad, and we don't know how he's going to start. So, and just because he doesn't start the first match doesn't mean he's not starting the second one or the third one either. So it's possible that things open up, and because of the way that the game weeks are set, match days are set during the Global Cup 2022, maybe we'll get a little news like beforehand of like what the lineup could be.
And it's like, what if he doesn't start against Mexico and they have a 1-1 draw and he comes in and flashes late as a sub? Well, of course he's going to be starting the next game against Saudi Arabia. It's like a lock. So there's plenty of opportunities for it to get him. The last thing I would say about him is one of my favorite quotes. We had the sporting director at Charlotte FC for the Crown. He was being asked about, the build and the name, the lack of star power on the roster a few months ago, at sort of a year-end, end of season autopsy type press conference. And he was like, that someone has said, hey, everyone was bashing you guys for not having any star power. And he's like, you just think we don't have star power. He said, it's not my problem if someone doesn't know who Karol Swiderski is, like the team, like we know who he is. And so like, if you, it's, scouting season, baby. It's so rare. It's always scouting season, but do some scouting, find this kid and get him in your lineups for sure. Get him in your gallery.
I love it, Trip. I love it.
Yeah, same.
Harry, we got one more player to add to our list today. Who's he going to be?
It's going to be a fellow American. Not going to be, not touted to be in the squad, but a player called Taylor Booth that plays for Utrecht in the Eredivisie. Under 23 until July 2025. He used to be with Bayern Munich as a youth player.
Heard of them.
He's like, didn't really, I don't think he ever played. He played for the seconds quite a bit, but didn't actually make a first team appearance as far as I'm aware. Played in Austria on loan. And then Utrecht got him on a free this season. And it's one of those cases of, very small sample size, but in the last 2 games, he scored 80 and 83, 2 assists, 1 goal. He's on set pieces. Obviously, Utrecht are winning, so that is obviously helping his DA output, of course. And before that, they lost 6-1 to PSV and 2-1 to AZ. So and he didn't play one of those games. So it's kind of a case where he's just broke into the squad and he's doing things that's gonna make sure that he's gonna stay in the squad for now, if that makes sense. I actually saw that there's actually a super rare up for really cheap, and I want to get it, but I'm not going to because I can't really afford it right now. Somebody won it as a reward, and it's just up right now, and it's up at the same price as what the rares are at.
I was just about to say the rare floor is the exact.
Wow,
I know,
that's
but
tough, man.
I know.
Makes you want to just buy it just on principle.
It
you know?
does.
But,
It really
but
does.
That's a fake rare floor.
I was gonna say that
obviously,
floor
right?
is absurd.
Yeah, it's a fake. Yeah, 100%,
yeah.
100% fake floor. But take set pieces. I've watched a lot of his highlights, and he's a. I mean, he doesn't play in the number 10 role for them. It says he plays left mid. They basically play like a 4-2-2, and he's kind of like an inside left mid. But drifts. His goal on the weekend was incredible. He basically picked it up from the halfway line, 1-2 with one of the forwards, and he's basically like ran past a few players and slotted it home. It was a really, really nice finish. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest player in the world, but extremely technical, like I said, set pieces. And somebody that's just going to be a very creative outlet for them, it looks like. And if they can keep winning games, you can almost bet your life on it that he's going to be involved in some way.
He looks great.
I was just I've never heard of this kid, and he looks awesome.
Yeah. Well, I had Adam Maher, who was the Utrecht number 10 last year. And I was like, why did they let him go? They just let it, they didn't make any effort to keep him from going to the Arabian League. And it's like, well, now I know a little more why they had this kid waiting in the wings. He looks great.
Yeah, he's raking up some decent AA scores.
I was gonna say 26 AA out of just like attacking stats is really fun.
Yeah.
And so he went negative in defense and possession.
Yeah.
He had 26 attack or negative in general. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, he 26 in attack, 23 overall.
Yeah.
It's almost like this formation graph, which is like, it's probably right. It's probably technically right, but like that doesn't like scream like this is an attacking role. And then you like go into the stats and you're like, oh, this kid just like absolutely balled out.
Well, I own the guy next to him there, or right up in the midfield with him, Vanderstreek, who is a good player who came back recently from a long-term injury. So that's telling me that probably just strengthened the Utrecht midfield as a whole, which allows Booth to shine. And Vanderstreek, if you look at him, he's kind of not really put the AA games together, but he's had some decisives in his comeback. So I think I wouldn't tout him necessarily, but he is a quality in real life player. And I think that he makes Booth better by them being together. And Booth obviously has the better Sorare game. So good pick.
And that's in 67 minutes as well, by the way.
Yeah,
I know it's only a 10 AA, but 2 assists. Like I said, not the most physical, athletic player in the world, but can beat a player with a bit of skill. And just technically, it just seems like he makes things happen, and that obviously reflects on the Sorare matrix.
This limited graph is such a classic example of what happens on Sorare when a player like out of nowhere has a really good game. Like you just see this like wonder. Everybody's like, okay, let's just go buy them all. And then reality sets in. He probably has one or two bad games, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, he's back. Let's go price him. And
I think he's only like $15 though, isn't he? I'm pretty sure. Like it's not crazy. Yeah. I mean, I know they have a nice game next game against Volendam away. Feyenoord after that, but go ahead after that 20. So it's like one good game, one hard game, good game, hard game, good game. In the next 5, obviously, after the World Cup, that Feyenoord game starts. So, it's one that like, is there much point buying him right now? Well, if he scores 100 against Volendam, maybe. But if he doesn't, it's a bit like, well, you got the World Cup to wait for. We don't know how prices are going to react over that time.
Right.
And then he has Feyenoord. So it's like, fixture-wise, it doesn't look like the best buy in the world. But as a player and as somebody with, a lot of room to grow in terms of just playing time and getting more decisives on the board, then I think he's somebody to definitely look out for.
I'm going to go right now and make a crap offer to that person who's got the 0.3 rare. I'm just going to go offer him 0.06 and see what happens. Why not?
Why not?
He's also like a late mint. Like 62 doesn't seem that high, right? For this time of the season already?
No, not at all.
Like, I feel like guys are much, much further along than that. And so...
Yeah, for limiteds, that's pretty low.
Certainly for limiteds, yeah. So theoretically, we could see more come out, so you don't have to rely on the secondary market here. Although maybe that's just my NBA mind of like, oh, there's always another
your brain has been warped by NBA over the last couple
totally,
weeks, huh?
totally.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's a fun shout there, Harry. Good call on that one.
Appreciate it. And he does actually wear the number 10 role for them. The number 10 jersey, sorry.
Love that. Yeah, so, I mean, I hate to say that like gameplay has like totally changed the way I think about certain cards, but it absolutely has. And so I look and I'm like, oh, L15 of 44, but he has 2 80s in his last 3 games, like if that's not like the perfect underdog play, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. All right. So those 4 players have been added to our Looking Up with Laird on Sorare TV watch list. The link to this watch list, which is public, should be in the description of this video. So if you haven't subscribed to it, just pull up that link, hit the little heart here so that you can follow it and get all of the players that we talk about on this show. We mentioned it last week, but the little secret to this is that if you subscribe to this list, you will get the players before the video actually goes out, because we filmed this video a day before it goes out. So actually, we don't know. TrippinB's auction will already be done. That he's
Yeah.
nobody...
I had to figure that was the case. That's why I tried to speak around it.
Either good news or bad news on that one. We'll find out.
You're not going to get this warning ahead of time, but if you get in my way on this auction, I'm going to come back to haunt you. So yeah,
the post auction threat has been set for those who are going in on that auction.
And my offer has been sent to Balada.
There we go.
0.06 for Taylor Booth.
Perfect.
Let's go. It was a reward, bro. You got to sell it for cheaper. You don't
have to sell it.
Yeah.
And then, as I have mentioned previously, in the notes here is when I list like when we add the players, just in case you want to go back and see how well we've done it. Basically, all these players have quadrupled in value, and they all score hundreds. That's what happens when we talk about guys on this show. So, firstly, TrippinB, thank you so much for filling in today. I believe Sam will be back next week, but happy to have you fill in anytime. So thank you very much for that. If you guys have enjoyed the video, if you could please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to Sorare TV, it's extremely simple to do so. There's a button that says subscribe. All you got to do is hit it. You don't even really need to watch the videos. I suggest you do, but you don't have to. Just click in and like them. Always helpful. And
a comment. Leave a comment. Even
leave a comment. That's always nice.
Exactly. Might as well go all the way here.
Yeah, you're right. Like, comment, share, whatever you guys do. Please do that. So thank you very much, and we'll be back next week.